Hey TRW crew. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up the TRW Business Profit Calculator. If you haven't watched the overview video yet of the Business Profit Calculator, I encourage you to do that first. This video will make a little more sense. But if you have watched that video, we're going to dive right into how to set up your calculator. So let's say I get the calculator the first time. I have my job information still from the overview in here, but I'm going to show you how I got some of these calculations. So if you watch the overview video, you'll have seen that there's a cost already inputted automatically for stones and for HTV, right? These costs were just automatically appearing. Where do those come from? These come from the tables you can see here in these different tabs. So if I click on the rhinestone tab, you can see a table here, and it has the TRW rhinestones already loaded there for you. We want to make it easy so you can already see the TRW rhinestones there. If you have other rhinestones, you can add them here at the bottom. And there's a lot of different slots for you to add rhinestones, or you can add rhine studs, anything like that, stone related. Okay, so what you're going to do if you want to enter something in, you're going to enter in your size, color, the quantity that you purchase it in. Okay, so if you're purchasing 100 gross bags, which is a good idea because you're going to get a better price for it, you're going to enter that in here. And then you're going to enter in the cost that you for that bag. Okay, so for SS6 amethyst stones at 100 gross, it's currently $55.20. Okay, and as prices change, with inflation or different things, you want to make sure that you're updating your prices. Okay, or if you add new products, whatever, if the product is discontinued, you can delete it from this table. Okay, so this is where you're going to manage your rhinestones. HTV, very similar, right? So it's a table with your HTV, except this time, obviously, there's no gross or anything like that. The first category you have here is your type. So we have all our different easy weed colors. You can see there's glitter, all the different types, easy weed stretch. Okay, but you put in your type of HTV, your color, your width of that particular kind of HTV. So easy weed from TRW comes in 15 inches. And then the length that you buy it in. So right here is 15 feet. Again, that's a good length to buy it in because you're going to get a good price for it. So at 15 feet, it ends up costing you $34.95. And this is the total cost. Okay, so when you add 15 feet into your cart, what ends up being the cost? That's what you want to enter here. And then you can see the cost per square inch. Okay, that's important because that's going to be used when we calculate how much it costs for a particular design. If there's, let's say here in the calculator, say gold glitter was 33 cents for a 3 by 7 dimensions of material. Well, we figured that out because over here we determined what our cost per square inch is, and then we figured out our square inches here, and we multiplied it by that cost per square inch. Okay. Stones, we figured out our per stone cost, and this is automatically calculated for you. You don't need to calculate the per stone cost or the cost per inch, per square inch for the HTV. Okay, so you got all the TRW HTV already in here. That's set to go, and you have space to add more if you'd like. All right, foil, same kind of deal. You got your type, your color, your width, your length. TRW sells the foil in 25-foot rolls, so the length is 25 feet, and then the total cost. And again, we have our cost per square inch automatically calculated here, and this will be important to use in our job calculator. So all the TRW foil is there, and you can add your own foil if you like. Sign vinyl, same sort of deal. So we can see here that we've got our fluorescent at the top. Blue comes in 12 inches, length 15 feet, costs $48, and then our cost per square inch. Our base materials. So we've got a few of the TRW base materials. Remember, the base materials are just production materials that aren't necessarily going on the product, but they're used in the process and we need to account for. So we have things like Magic Flock here. We have transfer tape, decal app tape, some other app tape, Bling Anything material, easy weed adhesive, right? These kinds of materials are going to go here. And it's kind of a catch-all too. If there are other materials that you use in the production process that don't fall into one of these other categories, then you can put them here. The next section is blanks. So your different blanks that you provide, whether it's t-shirts or maybe it's bags, right? Maybe it's a tote bag or a drawstring bag. Any sort of blanks that you use, keychain blanks, you can enter those here. And if you want a style number, if you want to include that, you can include that here, and then just the cost. Okay. Then this table is for upgrades, right? So this isn't actually a cost, this is a price over here. So let's say there's some different options that you want to give your customer, right? They have the base design, maybe it's the design on a t-shirt, but then you want to give them the ability that they want to add stones in the right sleeve, maybe put a number or something. It's $6, right? Or mega numbers, so maybe you're putting stone numbers on the back of the shirt. It's $15 upgrade. So these sorts of upgrades that you want to make available to the customer, you can put those in the table here. These are some preset ones for you, but there's also a bunch that you can add, a lot of room you can add other upgrades for yourself. Your business costs, we went over this in the overview video, but I'll briefly go over it again. This is a spot to add your wages for your production employee, your hourly, and then your hourly wage for your setup and design employee. If it's the same, you can just put the same one in there, same wage. This is your overhead, remember rent, electric, water, all that stuff. The average products that you produce in a month. Any miscellaneous business expense that's not captured here, you can add that there. And then the description of it if you have one. Okay, so that's the business cost. We went over that. And then there's just the bulk pricing, which again, we put these presets in for you. You're welcome to change them though to whatever you'd like. And then turnaround time. So these are your expedited turnaround times. We have here just something that we think are good numbers. So standard 5 to 7 business days. There's no fee for that. But if they want it expedited, these are some suggested fees. These are these fees, these percentages, they're a markup of the entire order, right? So if it ends up being $100 for the order and they want it in 4 business days, then you're going to add 20% to that sale price. Okay. So those are the different tables where you can manage your products, or excuse me, your materials that you get. One thing I want to show you here that's kind of nice is when you're selecting your products, your materials rather, again, when you're selecting your materials for your job, you can actually determine how you want them sorted. So let's say for rhinestones, like for color, you might want them sorted alphabetically. Right? It makes sense in this drop-down menu. It's kind of easier to navigate if you have them alphabetically. Now I say that because maybe when you're entering them in, it's not alphabetical, right? Right now they're ordered by stone size. You have SS6 at the top, then it goes from smallest to biggest, you have SS10 next. And there's a lot of repeats, and maybe it's not in alphabetical order. Well, the calculator's smart enough to, by default, put it in alphabetical order. So it makes it easy for you to find your colors, and it takes out any redundant ones. It's only showing the unique values, okay? And if you wanted, though, to not do it in alphabetical order, just show them in the order that it's entered. Maybe I'll give you a good example for your blanks. So maybe for your shirts, by default, it's putting in alphabetical order, and you can see here them in alphabetical order, and like customer provided blank is over here where C belongs. But let's say I wanted this in the order that I typed them into the table. Okay, maybe I'm ordering in a specific way, and I want customer provided blanket on top. That may not be belong on top alphabetically, but I want it on top for convenience. So all I need to do is change this to blank type, not sorted, and you can see here now, if I scroll back up to the top, customer provided blank now is at the top. Okay, so that's one nice feature of the calculator. Okay, something I want to note too, if you've used the other calculator in the past, maybe it's the Ultimate Apparel calculator, you might have seen that, or you might have been marking up different components of the production of the total product individually. So like maybe you had your HTV and you marked that up, and then you had your blank and you marked that up to determine the price of the blank. In this calculator, we're taking a different approach. So you're not marking up individual components. You're going to take all your costs, bring them all together, and then mark up the final product once you figure out all your costs. So that's just something to note if you're used to using the other calculator. All right, so that gives you a basic overview of the setup of the different materials that you can use. Oh, by the way, one other thing to note, if you by chance pick a color, let's say we have glitter here and we pick cream, okay? Well, it's going to give you a little reminder, friendly reminder that that's not a matching color. Let's say cream is only in easy weed, it's not in glitter, okay? So you need to make sure that you're picking a color that matches. If you do, okay, say we're going to pick emerald, then it's going to tell you that you're good and it's going to give you a price. Okay, so if you see no matching, that means that if you look at your table, if I go back to my HTV table, there's not a match with that type and color. Okay, so that's all that means. All right, so the last thing I want to show you is really just a tip on saving your job files. Ideally, you want to have a separate Excel file per job. That way, if you need to go back and look up a job, maybe you need to refresh your memory about some of the details with the job, you can do that. If you use the same Excel file and you save over it again and again for every job, well, you don't have any of that historical information. So a way of helping you do that is by saving a template. So you can save an Excel template. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Actually, what I want to show you first is make sure that before you save it as a template, you go ahead and set all your set up your Excel file so that all your defaults are showing, or what you want as the default. So any job specific information like setup and design time, right? You don't want to put 30 minutes because it may not be 30 minutes for every job. So you default it to 0, and setup and design fee maybe 0 and 0, 0, right? Just put these all at default values. Maybe you want standard turnaround time as the default. All those different things. Make sure your business costs are correct because that's going to apply to everyone. Your bulk pricing is up to date, your turnaround times, all those different things. Once that's all good to go, you're going to go to File, Save As, okay? And then instead of Excel Workbook here, what you're going to do is click this and go to Excel Template. So you can see there's a different file type here, and you want to choose Excel Template. Okay, once you do that, you can go ahead and hit save. I actually already have a template saved with that name, but I'll replace it. And now you have a template. So when you open this file and you save it in the future, it's going to prompt you to do a save as and save it as an Excel workbook because it understands that this is now a template. You don't want to necessarily save over it. You can save over it if you pick template again in that drop-down menu, and then you hit save and it's the same name. It'll save over it. That's if you need to update the template. But otherwise, by default, when you go to save this, it's going to save it as an individual Excel workbook. That way, you can just go back to this when you start a new job and then save all your jobs individually. All right, so that's the end of this setup tutorial. Hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, again, feel free to call the Rhinestone World at 941-755-1696.